Hello everybody and welcome to Kimchi Youngsam's English channel. So today I am going to be discussing something a little bit different to the normal topics that I go over. Still in English, but a different subject. So next week in the city of Glasgow, which is near where my family live in Scotland, there's a very important meeting that world leaders from around the world are going to be going to. This is called COP26, and this meeting is around climate change. Something that is, in my opinion, very important to be discussing about how we can all be doing more to combat climate change and rising temperatures. As well as other topics like plastic in the ocean and other things that are affecting our planet. So I thought it would be relevant to discuss the jargon around this meeting and what all the different acronyms and shortened words mean. So that's what this video is going to go over. I also want to, for all my English learners, I also want to share with you two different sources of information. One is a news channel on YouTube, which is great for English learners to use, which is called Arirang News, which is in South Korea. Especially if you're based in South Korea, it's a very good news channel to watch to learn about world events and also events in South Korea in English. They also do short snippets of each section, which are 1 or 2 minutes long, which is better than watching the whole program that can last for 30 minutes. So if you watch the snippets, it's more in detail and you can pick and choose what you want to watch. The second source of information that I will leave a link to in the description is the BBC News. They have, their website has a whole section on climate change, and they give a lot of information around the meeting next week, COP26. So in the next few slides, I'm going to show you some acronyms, some jargon, and we're going to just take it one word at a time and just explain what each part means. Okay, hope you enjoy. Okay, let's discuss the COP26 meeting and go over the climate change jargon. So the COP26 meeting in Glasgow will start next week. So we're going to discuss the jargon involved in this meeting. I've chosen a few that I think will appear the most in media outlets. So let's get into it. Okay, before we get into the jargon, I want to go over a few sources of information that will be good for my English learners. First of all, the Arirang News. This is based on YouTube, and this news channel is based in South Korea and is in the English language. It is a good source of information relating to South Korea's daily activities as well as world impacts and the impact that South Korea has on the world. Second, the BBC News website. This is a great source of world news and especially news relating to climate change. They have a whole section dedicated to climate news ahead of the COP26 meeting. And finally, the Guardian website. This is based from a newspaper. This is a website that has a lot of relevant information on the COP26 meetings. Now, below in the description, I will leave a link to these sources of information. Okay, so what is COP26? So COP26 is the name given to the meeting in Glasgow next week. And it starts from the 31st of October and it goes to the 12th of November 2021. It's in Glasgow, but also they have some meetings in Rome, Italy. COP means Conference of Parties, meaning the meeting of all countries and people affected by the subject of climate change. 26 is the amount of meetings that they've had on the same topic. So this is going to be the 26th meeting. In COP26, there's going to be 120 world leaders expected to attend, as well as many, many more diplomats and people affected by and people researching climate change. You'll see from the picture on the right, it says the UN Climate Change Conference UK 2020. And the reason that it says 2020 is that was the original date. But because of the effect of coronavirus, it had to be delayed to 2021 when it was safer to travel because most of or all of the members attending will have had the vaccine. Okay, so a phrase that you will hear a lot in the media around this meeting is the Paris Agreement. Now, this was an agreement made in 2015 in the city of Paris to keep global temperatures under 2 degrees Celsius. But there's a lot more involved in this meeting. It included saving and increasing forest area to capture greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. As I've already mentioned, it was to hold average increase in global temperatures to 2 degrees Celsius. It was to limit temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Increase ability to adapt to climate change, while also making finance consistent and aligned with the agreement goals. Famously, President Donald Trump chose to pull out of this agreement during his time as president. However, Joe Biden opted to back into this agreement very early on in his presidential reign. Okay, the next two words you will hear a lot in the media is net zero and greenhouse gases. So net zero basically means reducing greenhouse gas emissions as far as possible and then offsetting any remaining emissions. This can be by planting more trees, etc. So you'll see in the picture to the right, number one is maximizing renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power. Reducing our property footprint. Optimize travel, digital first. High-speed trains versus short-haul air travel. Fuel-efficient aircraft for long-haul travels. Energy-efficient site improvements. And verified offsetting schemes for residential emissions. Now, greenhouse gases. This is, maybe you've heard this a lot before. It's mentioned maybe in your science classes, but these are gases in the Earth's atmosphere that trap heat. The two main types that will be discussed are in COP26 are CO2, which is carbon dioxide, and CH4, which is methane or methane. That we will see more on the next page. Okay, so CO2 and CH4. CO2, carbon dioxide, is the primary greenhouse gas emitted through human activities such as transportation, as car, travel, airplanes, boats, and trains. This one accounts for 76% of all greenhouse gases that warm our planet. The second, CH4 or methane, is a powerful greenhouse gas which can trap heat in the atmosphere about 80 times more effectively than carbon dioxide. It comes from leaking fossil fuel infrastructure, such as oil wells and shale gas wells, and from animal husbandry and other agriculture. So this accounts for 16% of our greenhouse gases. And the main culprit that you'll probably hear about is farming, such as raising cattle, cows, and sheep. And one of the things that can combat this is changing our diets, eating less beef. So let's go to our next slide. Our final jargon word that we're going to talk about today is carbon offsetting. This is how companies and governments and individuals can cancel out the impact of some of their emissions by investing in projects that reduce or store carbon. For example, forest preservation and tree planting, as well as investing in wind and solar power are among them. So carbon offsetting allows you to balance out your climate impact and compensate for the emissions you produce by reducing CO2. So the carbon emissions are generated by air travel, lodging, transportation, dining, and other trip activities. So you can purchase carbon offset from Sustainable Travel International equivalent to the amount of CO2 you produce. So for example, when you take a plane flight, you have the option when you buy your ticket to pay extra to offset this carbon. So the companies, from the money that you pay, will plant trees and use renewable energy where they can. So your contribution funds certified projects. So here we go. That conserve and restores forests, generates clean and renewable energy, and increases energy efficiency. And these projects reduce CO2 and other greenhouse gases by removing existing CO2 from the atmosphere or preventing new emissions. Okay, so the jargon words and phrases that we have gone through today will be used a lot over the coming weeks in news outlets and news media. So I hope when you hear them in the news that you'll understand now what they mean. And I hope that you keep researching, use those sources of information that I gave you at the beginning of this video, and keep on educating yourself over climate change and see how you can reduce your impact to help our planet. Okay, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and like the video.